Last June, the federal government announced the closure of open net fish farms in BC.
The open net farms will be fully terminated in terms of operations within 5 years.
The news came as a welcome gesture from the Wild Salmon Alliance that have been fighting to shut down these farms from what they say is contamination to wild salmon stocks.
When the Wild Salmon Alliance began to inform First Nations of the rationale for being supportive of the removal, it's based upon fact. It's based upon federal court rulings, the Auditor General's reporting, on the Cohen Commission's report, on the Standing Committee of Fisheries and Oceans, and most recently the judicial review that came out on the Discovery Islands decisions.
But on November the 28th, tensions boiled over at a press conference in Ottawa, where the First Nations for Fin Fish Stewardship and their allies were there to demand the government reconsider their decision to shut down open net fish farms.
They're listening to activists and ministers like Jonathan Wilkinson, who are continuing to interfere with our rights and self-determination. There's a difference between activists and conservationists. First Nations have rights and title, and they work with conservation community to protect valuable lands and resources within our territories. Activists simply point out problems that exist.
17 hereditary chiefs immediately held their own press conference in Vancouver to respond to those remarks.
This is not true. In the Broughton Archipelago, many of the hereditary chiefs that are standing with me today were the ones that made the decision to remove the farms from our traditional waters. To characterize them as activists is completely and utterly offensive. You see, today there are coppers with our hereditary chiefs. They have fulfilled their obligations in the culture of our people to stand up and look after our territories for generations to come.
Dallas Smith spoke to APTN by Zoom.
To be called out in a press conference by chiefs who all have my cell phone number, who drove past my office on the way to Vancouver to have said press conference, is really a dangerous precedent. You know, it's really important that we look at all these issues and understand the role of hereditary leadership on a community by community basis. But to sit here and call each other out personally is just not really going to be beneficial of good results.
Smith also states that over 5,000 people depend on the aquaculture sector and is concerned that his communities do not have the power to sustain land-based operations. However, the federal government is still moving ahead with full closure of open net fish farms by 2029. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.